Year 5000, Galactic Standard Calendar. The stars themselves seemed to tremble as the sleek silhouette of a human warship sliced through the void of space, its metallic surface catching the cold light of distant suns. For centuries, the history of humanity had been but a footnote in the Galactic Council's archives. An extinct species, a cautionary tale of hubris and destruction. 3 millennia had passed since the Council had obliterated Earth, sanctioning the use of a catastrophic weapon that fractured the very soul of the human race. It was a desperate act to prevent what they deemed an inevitable galactic conquest. Earth had been a thriving hub of innovation and ambition, qualities both feared and envied by the older, more established races of the Council. In the end, fear had prevailed, and with it, the destruction of Earth. But humanity had not perished as expected. The remnants of Earth's children, scattered across the cosmos, clung to survival on distant, forgotten worlds. Over generations, the stories of Earth transformed from vivid memories to mythic legends. Yet the legacy of their origins persisted, fueling a collective yearning for reclamation and revenge. The ship now entering the Council's space was named Retribution. It was the spearhead of the resurgence fleet, built in secrecy, powered by a blend of recovered ancient technology and new innovations crafted in the hidden enclaves of human resistance. On the bridge, Captain Elena Mora stood with her eyes fixed on the star chart, her expression unreadable. "Captain, we're approaching the outer sectors of the galactic core," Lieutenant Soren reported, his voice steady despite the undercurrent of tension that ran through the crew. Elena nodded, turning to face her crew, her eyes gleaming with a fierce determination. "This is the moment we've prepared for," she began, her voice echoing softly through the bridge. "Our ancestors were betrayed and slaughtered, our home destroyed. Today we do not seek just retribution. We aim to reclaim our place in the cosmos, for Earth, for humanity." The crew responded with a resolute cheer, each member prepared to lay down their lives for a cause centuries in the making. As Retribution moved closer to the heavily fortified systems that surrounded the Galactic Council's capital, they encountered the outer defenses, a network of massive sentinel ships and interlocking firepower that no intruder had penetrated in over 1,000 years. "Deploy the Aegis spheres," Elena commanded, referring to their advanced defense technology. The ship released a series of shimmering drones that formed a protective barrier around the fleet, absorbing and dispersing the energy blasts from the sentinel ships with astonishing efficiency. The Council's forces were taken aback by the sudden appearance and advanced technology of the human fleet. Alerts were sent deep into the core worlds, stirring the old Council chambers into a frenzy of activity. Ambassadors and military leaders convened in emergency sessions, scrambling to understand how their ancient enemy had returned so powerfully. Meanwhile, on Retribution, strategic holograms illuminated the bridge, showing the layouts of the Council's defenses and the potential pathways to the capital. "All ships initiate cloaking procedures and follow the infiltration routes we've mapped out," Elena instructed. The fleet vanished from conventional sensors, slipping past the outer defenses under a cloak of invisibility. In the silence of space, humanity's vengeance was silent and swift, a ghostly echo of the vibrant world they had once lost. The journey ahead was fraught with peril, but for Elena and her crew, the return to the Galactic Council's doorstep was the first step in rewriting the history of a species long thought vanquished. As Retribution and the rest of the Resurgence fleet prepared for the next phase of their grand strategy, the Galactic Council would soon realize that the ghosts of their past sins were not just alive, but hungry for justice. The Retribution hovered silently at the edge of the Selvan Nebula, masking its presence in the swirling gases that painted strokes of iridescent colors against the void. Captain Elena Mora surveyed the data streaming in from their scouts. Their initial breach into Galactic Council territory had been unexpectedly successful, but the real challenge loomed ahead. "Status report!" Elena called out across the dimly lit bridge, her voice cutting through the hum of the ship's core. "Defensive measures are holding, and all ships report ready for the next phase," replied Commander Tyrell, his fingers dancing over the luminescent panels that controlled their cloaked fleet. Elena nodded, her mind racing through scenarios. The Galactic Council, shaken by the breach, would be bolstering its defenses, unaware of just how deep into their territory the human fleet had infiltrated. "We need to disrupt their communications," she stated, turning to face her communications officer, Aaliyah. "If we can sow confusion among their ranks, we can weaken their coordinated responses." Aaliyah nodded, her hands already moving over her console. "I can initiate a series of cyber attacks on their network, using the codes we deciphered from the Outer Sentinels. It should give us a small window to maneuver closer to their core worlds." As Aaliyah set her plan into motion, Elena focused on the larger tactical display, where the vast network of the Galactic Council's domain unfolded. Each node represented a potential target, each line a route that could lead them to victory or devastation. "Soren, take a team and prepare the shadow vessels. We're going to need every advantage to get through their inner defenses," Elena instructed. The shadow vessels, smaller ships designed for stealth and quick strikes, were an integral part of their strategy. Soren saluted sharply and departed, his team already assembling in the hangar bay. These crews were specialists, trained for precise, high-risk missions that could turn the tide of their campaign. As the cyber attacks began, reports of confusion and disarray filtered through the Council's communications channels. Elena listened, a grim satisfaction settling in her chest. Every moment of disorder bought them precious time. "Commander Tyrell, begin the push towards the Athari gate," she commanded. The Athari gate was a critical juncture, heavily fortified but essential for gaining access to the Council's core systems. If they could take control of the gate, they could throttle the flow of Council reinforcements, isolating their capital. The fleet began to move, a silent phalanx of ships cloaked in the shadows of space, navigating through cosmic hazards and evading detection by the increasingly frantic Council patrols. In the operations room, Elena and her officers watched as the first of the shadow vessels reached its target. The ship executed a series of calculated maneuvers, slipping through the Council's sensor nets to deliver a crippling blow to an auxiliary power station on one of the outer planets. The explosion was silent in the vacuum of space, but its impact was immediate, lighting up their screens with the sudden blackout of several defensive systems. "Good work, Soren. Pull back and regroup. We'll need you for the assault on the gate," Elena said into her comm, her voice steady despite the adrenaline that coursed through her veins. The path to the Athari gate was clear, but Elena knew that the hardest part of their mission was just beginning. The Council would be mustering its forces, and the battle for the gate would be fierce. But she also knew that her crew was ready, forged in the fire of survival and honed by the promise of their cause. As Retribution and its allies prepared to engage the enemy, Elena felt the weight of centuries bearing down upon her. Yet, there was no turning back. For humanity, for Earth, they would fight until the stars themselves went dark. The Athari gate loomed ahead, its colossal frames bristling with weaponry and sensor arrays. Captain Elena Mora analyzed the readouts, her eyes flickering with the reflections of tactical displays. The next few hours would define the fate of their mission. "Initiate the echo displacement," she ordered. This technique would use the interference from the nearby asteroid belt to create ghost signals, effectively cloaking their true numbers and positions as they approached the gate. As the fleet maneuvered into position, hidden by the asteroids, a tense silence settled over Retribution. Everyone aboard knew the gravity of the assault they were about to launch. Suddenly, the calm was shattered by a surge of energy pulses from the gate. The Council had anticipated their approach, not the specifics, but enough to be prepared. "Shields up! Return fire! Target their main artillery units," Elena commanded, her voice calm but urgent. The space around the Athari gate erupted into chaos, streaked with the bright trails of plasma cannons and the darker, more ominous pulses of disruptor beams. Elena watched as one of their shadow vessels took a direct hit, its armor disintegrating under the onslaught. "Focus our fire on the eastern turret cluster," she directed, pinpointing a weakness in the gate's defenses. "And deploy the second squadron of shadow vessels to flank." The fleet adapted, moving with practiced precision. The shadow vessels darted forward, exploiting the brief confusion among the gate's defenders to land a series of hits that disabled the primary sensor grid. With the gate's defenses compromised, Elena seized the moment. "All units, full assault on the gate! Push through to the other side!" she commanded. The human fleet surged forward, a tidal wave of resolve and retribution. Explosions lit the dark space as parts of the gate buckled under their concentrated fire. Just as they began to make headway, a new threat emerged. "Multiple inbound signatures from the capital. Looks like they've sent the Royal Guard," Lieutenant Soren reported, his voice tight with concern. The Royal Guard was legendary, a fleet said to be unbeatable, manned by the elite pilots of the Council's core worlds. Their ships, sleek and deadly, cut through space with terrifying precision. Elena assessed the situation rapidly. "Deploy the gravitational mines. Let's use the gate's debris field to our advantage." As the mines were laid discreetly among the wreckage, the Royal Guard fleet, confident in their superiority, rushed into the fray. The mines activated at the peak of their approach, pulling ships off course and into the jagged remnants of the gate. Several of the Royal Guard's ships were caught in the blasts, their formations thrown into disarray. "Press the attack! Focus on the capital ships!" Elena barked out orders, capitalizing on the momentary chaos. Her crew responded with vigor, pushing the Council's forces back with relentless firepower. The battle raged, a brutal dance of destruction and strategy. Elena moved her ship into the heart of the conflict, targeting the command vessel of the Royal Guard. A direct hit to their command systems could disrupt the entire fleet. As the retribution bore down on the enemy leader, Elena felt a surge of anticipation mixed with the cold reality of war. This confrontation was but a step in their long struggle, each move critical, every sacrifice etched into the annals of their resurgence. As debris and the glow of fires filled the viewports, the humans pushed forward, inch by inch, driven by the ghosts of their past and the unwavering desire for a future where they stood free and feared no more. As the retribution loomed over the crippled command vessel of the Royal Guard, Captain Elena Mora felt a grim satisfaction. The gate was nearly theirs, but the cost flickered on her screens in the form of casualties and chaos. She steeled herself, knowing that the hardest battles were often won by the narrowest margins. "Target their propulsion systems," Elena ordered, her voice a steel blade cutting through the tension on the bridge. "Ensure they don't regroup or escape to warn the capital." The targeting systems of the Retribution locked onto the damaged Royal Guard ship. With a silent nod from Elena, the weapons officer unleashed a volley of high-energy plasma torpedoes. The torpedoes struck true, and the Royal Guard's flagship faltered, its engines erupting in a brilliant cascade of flames and debris. As the enemy flagship drifted, powerless, the tide of the battle turned sharply. Elena's fleet pushed forward, exploiting the opening with a ferocious barrage that overwhelmed the remaining Royal Guard ships. One by one, they were either destroyed or forced into retreat. "With the Royal Guard in disarray, we have a brief window to advance toward the capital," Commander Terrell noted, his eyes scanning the status updates. "We should move quickly before they can launch another counteroffensive." Elena nodded, aware that every second they delayed increased the risk of a regrouped and reinforced enemy. "Signal all ships, set course for the capital, maximum speed, no further engagements unless absolutely necessary." As the fleet surged forward, Elena contacted the covert ground teams they had previously dispatched to the Council's worlds. "Begin operations. We need those planetary defenses disabled by the time we arrive," she instructed. The teams acknowledged, their tasks critical to softening the planetary defenses ahead of the fleet's arrival. These small units, comprised of highly trained operatives, moved through the shadows of the Council's cities, sabotaging communications arrays and power stations, sowing further confusion and hindrance to the Council's ability to respond. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Retribution, Elena watched as the star map updated in real time, showing their rapid approach to the capital system. The defenses there would be formidable, but with the Council still reeling from their unexpected losses, she knew this was their best chance. "Prepare all hands for a full assault. I want every ship and every soldier ready for what's to come. This is where we make our stand," she declared, her resolve hardening. The fleet's advance was swift, but as they neared the capital system, a flurry of transmissions attempted to dissuade them. Pleas for parley mixed with threats of ultimate destruction, each ignored by Elena with a cold, focused determination. As they breached the outer defenses of the capital system, thanks to the sabotage carried out by their ground teams, the space around the capital planet appeared less defended than anticipated. Still, Elena remained cautious. "Engage cloaking screens and prepare for orbital insertion. We strike hard and fast," she commanded. The fleet vanished from sight, slipping past the few operational sensors and moving into position. High above the capital, the first wave of human ships began their descent, while others maintained a strategic formation, ready to intercept any attempts at launching reinforcements. Elena looked out at the vastness of space, the stars silently witnessing the resurgence of humanity. This attack would send shockwaves throughout the galaxy, a message that the human race was no longer just a memory, but a force reborn from the ashes of their shattered world. As the fleet positioned itself for the final descent, the capital looming large before them, Elena felt the weight of history upon her shoulders. Not just the history of her people's fall, but of their imminent rise. The battle for the capital would be fierce, but they were ready. For vengeance, for honor, and for the reclaiming of their place among the stars. The capital planet of the Galactic Council shimmered below as the human fleet prepared for the decisive strike. Captain Elena Mora's face was set in a mask of determination. Her gaze locked on the holographic displays, showing the intricate network of defenses that still surrounded their primary target. "Divert auxiliary power to shields and arm all offensive systems," she instructed crisply. The crew of the Retribution responded with swift efficiency, readying the ship as they orbited at the edge of the capital's defense grid. The silence of anticipation was palpable on the bridge. Elena knew that the element of surprise had diminished. Now it was down to sheer tactical execution and the will to prevail. "Launch the first wave of fighters," she ordered. The bay doors of the Retribution opened, releasing scores of sleek fighters into the void, darting towards the planet like a swarm of avenging angels. Below, the capital's defense forces scrambled to respond. Anti-aircraft arrays and orbital platforms powered up, sending a volley of fire towards the incoming human ships. Explosions dotted the space around them, each burst marking a sacrifice in their relentless push forward. "Focus fire on their main communication hub," Elena directed, pointing to a strategic location on the planet's surface that coordinated the defensive efforts. "If we take that out, it will throw their ground forces into chaos." As their primary cannons charged, the Retribution took a defensive stance, its shields glowing under the barrage from the planetary defenses. With a deep thrum, the ship unleashed a concentrated beam of energy, cutting through space and striking the communications hub. The structure vaporized under the intense heat, its destruction a silent explosion of light. "Hub is down," confirmed a tactical officer, his voice steady amid the crescendo of battle alerts. "Send in the second wave to support the fighters. Target any reinforcements trying to launch from the surface," Elena continued, her commands flowing with the precision of a seasoned strategist. On the surface of the capital, the human ground teams moved through the chaos, securing key positions and sabotaging additional targets to aid their compatriots from above. The surprise and speed of their assault had the Council's forces reeling, unable to mount a coordinated defense. In orbit, a massive Council warship loomed into view, angling to intercept the Retribution. "Incoming dreadnought, starboard side!" shouted the sensor officer. Elena assessed the threat. "Redirect energy to starboard shields. Prepare to engage. Helm, bring us around for a broadside attack." The Retribution pivoted gracefully in space, its side cannons aligning with the dreadnought. The two behemoths exchanged a volley of destructive energy, each hit shaking the ship despite the robust shielding. "Damage report!" Elena called out over the din of battle. "Shields at 60%, minor hull damage," reported the engineer, his eyes glued to his monitors. "Keep us in the fight! All hands, brace for impact and stay on your targets," Elena barked, her eyes scanning the evolving battle scene. As the dreadnought reeled from a particularly effective strike from the Retribution, Elena seized the tactical advantage. "All units, concentrate fire on that dreadnought. Let's finish it." With a concerted effort from several human ships, the dreadnought began to falter. its armor peeling away under the sustained barrage, until finally it exploded in a blinding flash of light that momentarily lit the entire battlefield. With the dreadnought out of action, the path to the planet's surface was clearer. "Ground teams, you're clear to advance. Take control of their defense systems," Elena instructed, her voice a beacon over the communications network. As the battle raged above, human soldiers fought their way through the capital's streets, their determination undeterred by the desperate defense mounted by the Council's beleaguered troops. Every step forward was hard fought. Every position gained a testament to their resolve and their long-held dreams of revenge. As the battle for the capital reached its climax, Captain Elena Mora watched from the bridge of the Retribution, the heart of the operation. The planet's surface was scarred with the remnants of fierce combat, smoke plumes rising into the atmosphere, marking the intense struggle that had transpired. "Secure the last of the defense nodes," Elena commanded, her eyes not leaving the tactical screens that displayed the slow but unstoppable advance of her forces across the capital. One by one, the defense nodes blinked out, replaced by the steady blue icons of control achieved by human hands. The Council's forces, overwhelmed and outmaneuvered, began to surrender or retreat into the few remaining strongholds. "Captain, we have control of the planetary defense systems," reported Lieutenant Soren, his face illuminated by the glow of his console. "The remaining Council forces are requesting terms of surrender." Elena paused, the weight of the moment settling on her shoulders. This was the culmination of centuries of exile and struggle, a return not just to power, but to a rightful place among the stars. She nodded solemnly. "Accept their surrender. But keep our forces on high alert. We'll need to establish a secure perimeter around the capital and begin occupation protocols." As the Retribution hovered above the capital, the once bustling streets below now quieted. Elena turned to her crew, their faces marked by fatigue and the adrenaline of victory. "Well done, everyone. Begin damage assessments and prepare for relief and reconstruction efforts. We came here for retribution, but we must also build anew." With the fleet's victory, messages began to flood in from human outposts and colonies scattered across the galaxy. Messages of celebration, of renewed hope, and of a future that was once thought to be lost forever. In the following days, Elena oversaw the establishment of a provisional government, one that promised to bridge the chasms of the past with a vision for a unified and peaceful future. Human leaders, together with those Council species willing to cooperate, formed a coalition to stabilize the capital and its surrounding territories. Elena walked through the streets of the capital, the destruction around her a stark reminder of the cost of their victory. Buildings were scorched, and the air was thick with the smell of smoldering debris. Yet, amidst the ruin, the citizens of the capital, both human and alien, began to emerge, their eyes cautious but filled with a hesitant hope. "Rebuilding will be our next great battle," Elena remarked to her command team as they toured the city. "But this time, it will be a battle not fought with weapons, but with will and vision." As weeks turned into months, reconstruction progressed. The city's skyline slowly began to rise anew, not just as a symbol of human resilience, but as a beacon of multi-species cooperation. The Galactic Council was reformed, this time with humans not merely as members, but as leading voices advocating for peace and integration. Captain Elena Mora, once a military leader, now took on a new role, one that involved diplomacy and governance. Her leadership during the war had been a testament to her strategic brilliance, but her vision in peace marked her as a pioneer of the new age. From the ashes of the old capital, a new era dawned, an era not of human dominance, but of human contribution to a galaxy that was finally learning to look beyond old fears and prejudices. Elena stood at a new frontier, not of the void between stars, but of the shared destiny of diverse beings united by their desire for peace and prosperity. As the sun set over the reconstructed capital, its light reflected off the glass and steel of new structures and the hopeful faces of its inhabitants. The long night of struggle had passed, and the dawn of unity was breaking, a new chapter for humanity and the galaxy at large.